We've done a lot of content about different rappers on this channel, but we never did a fully dedicated video for producers, the unsung heroes of music. And we decided for today's video to deliver our top 10 hip hop producers of all time. Let us know down in the comments, who do you think is the GOAT producer? And if you're new here, make sure to smash that subscribe button because we're dropping videos on a weekly basis. But Ant, let's get into this.
Let's do this,
10
bro.
different producers. It was pretty hard to narrow it down. Like, I had a good idea of who would be in my list, but it was that 10th and 9th and 8th place where I'm like, oh, I would have loved to have given this other guy a shout here as well, right?
Well, what I did, at least for this list, is there's a lot of producers, especially in the 2000s, that kind of went into other genres as well, right? So, for example, I was considering Pharrell and the Neptunes, but also
stop. You don't have Pharrell on the list?
A large portion of their catalog also goes into R&B, and when I look at the hip-hop stuff, I think there's producers from my 10 to 7 that have produced better hip-hop records.
Yeah, but Dr. Dre's gone into R&B, so has Kanye West, and
but the majority of their catalogs are actually in hip-hop as well, where Pharrell, for example, there's the statistic where he was dominating like 43% of like the R&B charts.
Not even true.
So regardless, though, honorable mention of mine, Timbaland, the same thing. I think you could consider Timbaland a top 10 producer of all time, but same thing, came from other genres and then dipped his bag into hip hop records.
You gotta have Pharrell on the list, though.
I don't have Pharrell on the list. I'm sorry.
Crazy. Okay.
My bad.
No, I just feel like that's like that's like a Dr. Dre placement in my opinion, where it's like this is like an absolute law.
I have 10 in front of him, at least in my opinion. Did you include the Neptunes catalog as well?
I have like Pharrell / the Neptunes. That's really like what made up that position of the list, because I feel like you can't really consider Pharrell's work without considering the Neptunes' catalog. So I definitely did, especially for a lot of the Jay-Z credits they have. Obviously, the work with Clips, that was a necessity. But let's get things started. Number 10 on our list, I have P-Rock at number 10. Who do you have?
This is where I'm going to have Madlib at number 10. Did Madlib make your list?
I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
Regardless, though, I think Madlib is one of the most interesting producers of all time. I'll go on my mini rant. When I look at the producer catalog of Madlib and all of the placements, everything from all of the Mad Villainy work to what he did with Freddie Gibbs in the mid-2010s, even solo placements, for example, like a No More Parties in LA or Auditorium with Mos Def when that released back then, some of the most abstract sample flips of all time that you could possibly find. And when I look at Madlib, I kind of see him as like, there's J Dilla, then there's Madlib. It's sort of the same production style where you're getting these abstract sample flips. High tech kind of gets into that same conversation as well, where you're finding these sample flips and you're asking yourself, one, where did they find these? Two, if you did find this, how did you even think of constructing it into this sort of beat? And I look at a beat like accordion, for example, and you hear that loop on play, and you're asking yourself, how do you make that instrument sound so captivating for that type of production? And that's what I think Madlib does so well. Not only is the placements he's on goated, but looking at the types of careers he's helped build up, whether it's MF Doom or Freddie Gibbs, I do feel like when he links up with an artist and they focus in for a whole collaboration album, they make some of the best work that you could possibly find in the hip-hop genre, and that adds points for me. I think his run is incredible. His longevity is incredible. His beats are still super sought after as well. That's another big thing for me. Looking at his career, goes into the 90s, it's all the way now into like the mid-2020s where you're seeing that there's still hunger for Montana, which is it's a collaboration album with Freddie Gibbs, and people still want to hear the beats off of that album.
Look at Madlib as well, and how much people wanted that posthumous Mac Miller album. Like,
the instrumentals are timeless, and he's one of the best samplers of all time.
100%. P-Rock, this is your favorite producer's favorite producer, someone that is celebrated by a lot of people within the industry, but I feel like when it comes to fans of the music, he often gets left by the downside, and people don't bring him up into conversation, but he's had a stellar 30-year plus career, and he's still going strong to this day. I feel like alongside DJ Premier and a lot of other GOATs, like, he's one of those guys that laid the blueprint for New York boom bap production and what it could be at its finest. And I love like his approach where it's very simple, where it's like, let me just work around the sample and beef up that sample, whether it be adding hardcore drums and a deep bass line that match the rhythm of the sample, or maybe it's me taking a drum loop that's just a quarter of a bar and then adding a kick and a snare and making sure there's enough air in between each of them that it could be played together. I just love to see the way that he puts beats together, it always feels like a puzzle where he's taking an array of different drums and different samples and kind of forging it into one instrumental by the end of it. And when I look at just his contributions to hip hop, I love the jazz and the soul influence within his music. I love his work with CL Smooth, looking at Mecca and the Soul Brother, looking at Made Ingredient. Those are incredible albums. And even looking at him with his own solo material, where he brought in a cast of amazing rappers like Soul Survivor, for example. Then if you want to look at what he's done with producer-rapper collab albums, you have insane projects like Retropolitan with Sky Zoo and The Underground, and then you have mainstream albums like The Auditorium Volume 1 with Common that just got nominated for a Grammy. So the catalog, the skill set, it stands on its own. Also, he was really notorious for being able to make remixes of already goated productions. Like, he has a Juicy remix from Biggie, which is incredible. He did Jump Around. He did Hip Hop Hooray. And his drums are always so fucking crisp. That's one thing I want to like credit him for. His drums always sound super clean, and I just love all of the horn samples that he chooses as well. Credits include, I did this for every producer, just mentioning some credits. The World Is Yours by Nas, They Reminisce Over You, The Sun Won't Come Out, The Bitch in You by Common, Be Easy by Ghostface Killah, The Joy by Kanye and Jay-Z, The Saga Begins by Rakim, and more.
Give Me Yours by Easy is a fucking crazy
Yeah.
song, bro. That's a crazy beat. But at my number 9, now that we could speak about it, it's Pete Rock. I have Pete Rock at number 9.
Pete Rock at 9, beautiful. This is where I have Uncle Al, the Alchemist, coming in at
You
number
put Uncle
9.
Al at number,
Yes,
number
sir.
9. Amazing placement. So I think he did a great job explaining Pete Rock's techniques and like what he does well as a producer. Historic figure within the hip hop genre as well. And I feel like he's someone that's larger than just a producer title, right? You think about him as a godfather in hip hop and someone that shaped the sound of the 90s. You went through all of his most iconic placements, the remixes, the sample flips. Again, plays on the same level as DJ Premier, has to be a lock in the top 10. But speak to me about Uncle Al. This is a crazy placement.
Yeah, he was someone else that had to be in here, and I feel like some people would have him higher in their list, and I understand that. With Uncle Al, I mean, where to begin? I just feel like when it comes to his sound, people always look to him as sort of the barrier for quality, especially in today's hip-hop, where it's like, when you think of any rapper, the dream producer for them to make a collab album with always ends up being The Alchemist. And I think it's because of his resume. Like, he has probably, out of any other producer on this list, he has the quality and the quantity to match an impeccable discography as a rapper-producer hybrid, looking at what he's done with Freddie Gibbs, Earl Sweatshirt, Currency, Larry June, Action Bronson, Domo Genesis, Conway the Machine, Boldy James. The list just goes on. And what I think has been impressive is that he started off in the 90s with that more grimy East Coast sound, making beats for Mobb Deep and Dilated Peoples. Then you go into his work in the 2000s. He's cooking with Nas and Lil Wayne and has more of like triumphant, hard-hitting beats. And then he just redefines himself in the 2010s, making more like minimalistic sample-based production that's dusty, that's kind of harks back to his earlier stuff in terms of that dark atmosphere, but is very different in terms of the style. So I love the fact that he's reinvented himself and kind of adapted with the times decade after decade. And yeah, just incredible producer. I love the way he layers his beats. And always makes them simple enough for the rapper or the singer to have space to shoot their shit on the song. So yeah, credits for Al. So many, right?
Yeah, for
Meet
sure.
the Grahams, Fear, We Gonna Make It, Keep It Thorough, Red Dot Music by Mac Miller, Know You're Wrong, Schoolboy Q, White Lines, Danny Brown, Universal Studios with Wiz, Johnny P's Caddy, Lost Forever. So many.
So many to go through. All right, number 8 placement. Who do you have at
Number
number
8 is the legend himself, Q-Tip.
This is where I have Q-Tip as well.
There
Yeah,
we
I
go.
had to include. This was a must.
This was an absolute must,
This
and
was a
he's
lock.
someone else that I feel like kind of is underrated as a producer. Like, he
Yeah,
gets
you
more
think so,
shine
though?
as an MC.
But I feel like if you ask a lot of different producers in the community, and we talk to a lot of different producers, Q-Tip is a legend and is someone that's always mentioned in their top 10s. Having a great conversation with Coleman actually the other day on the phone about the list and whatever, and he was just saying like how much Q-Tip inspired his own production and like that jazzy psychedelic sort of hip hop that became so prominent off of albums like the Low End Theory and Midnight Marauders, like all of those beats, think about it, that comes from the hands of Q-Tip. And like that influence, we know how influential those albums are, and some of those albums actually placed in our top 10 albums of all time, that's his doing. And that's his influence. So let me ask you, looking at, let's say, a Q-Tip, was there any sort of thought of him not making or breaking that sort of top 10?
No, this was a lock. I mean, he's one of the pioneers, right? Like around the time that he started producing and making beats for Tribe, a lot of producers kind of had a very, similar blueprint in the sense of like there was a lot of James Brown samples. It was going into like a lot of funk, a lot of soul, which is fine. Like those make for some of the best samples in hip hop, but it really was Q-Tip that started really infusing jazz with these boom bap drum patterns and ended up revolutionizing the game. I think what's special about Q-Tip too is just the fact that he's able to blend so many samples into one song and make the track sound cohesive. Like a War Tour, for example, off of Midnight Marauders, that has like 7 different samples baked into one song, which is fucking nuts. And then you have his solo material, looking at an album like Renaissance, where you have not only an incredible sample of a piano loop, but that's blended in with like a magnetic live bass line. So he was also really good at finding that hybrid of like sample-based music and live instruments being
you saw that too on Kamal the Abstract, right? That's a 2009 project that he released. I was revisiting that album for this episode, and it's sort of the same thing and scenario you're talking about, where he finds that beautiful middle ground. Also, legendary hip-hop placements like Electric Relaxation. That's one of my favorite hip-hop beats of all time.
Mm-hmm.
One Love by Nas. The Space Program. Like
FIFA by Pusha T.
Insane, bro. Even I know this is kind of like off the radar because it's not officially released, but Mama's Boyfriend by Kanye. That's a legendary beat as well.
I didn't know that was Q-Tip until...
that was Q-Tip production. So co-produced with him, right? So Thank You by Busta Rhymes, Conrad Tokyo, incredibly legendary beats across the board.
Also, when you think about who he's influenced, from Pharrell to Kanye to 3 Stacks to J Dilla, like he's influenced a lot of the GOATs in this shit. So had to be there. Number 7. This is... I think you're going to have this producer higher up, and I respect it. But number 7 is going to be RZA for me.
Okay. It's not going to be that much higher, but it is going to be higher. Number 7, I have Havoc, actually.
You have Havoc at 7.
I have Havoc at 7.
Okay,
this was an automatic fucking lock for me. And the reason being is because I went through sort of like a history lesson of like his production and how much it means to different producers. And if it wasn't for someone like Havoc, I wouldn't have some of my favorite albums of all time, for example, like a 2001. He was really the first producer to start making really haunted and hard-hitting and dark production that you would find on later albums like 2001. I also love what Havoc did, right, for not only Dr. Dre, but for future rappers, like, for example, 50 Cent and everyone that Mobb Deep inspired. You look at the types of beats that he produced, and it allowed for people to go into a different direction with their production, and Havoc was the master of that. You look at, let's say, what he did for Queens and the way that he was able to build up the New York scene with, obviously, Prodigy and Mobb Deep. I think that's super influential. I looked at his production catalog, looking at songs like, for example, Shook One's Part 2, or even like Real Friends, Survival of the Fittest, Welcome to Hell off of Bad Meets Evil. These are some of my favorite beats of all time. And I'm just a huge fan of those types of dark productions where they put you in a certain type of zone and it's like the borderline of horrorcore. That's what I really like from Havoc. And he's, even something like Quiet Storm, bro, or Why by Jadakiss, Eye for an Eye, like all of Mobb Deep's catalog is so goated on the production side of things, and it's some of the best hip hop beats of all time, in my opinion. So
W's placement, I like that.
Yeah, so you see, like for me, I personally value like Havoc over a Pharrell, for example. Like that's just my taste in production, but I could understand why. You get what I'm trying to say? Like
Pharrell's,
that's why
the discography is insane. But we'll get to that later. When it comes to RZA, I think there's a lot of respect to pay forward to RZA, obviously being the mastermind and the director of the Wu-Tang Clan, but also just as a beat maker, one of the best hip hops ever seen. And I think that what always stood out to me was just how gritty and dark his sound was more than anything else. When you think of that hardcore, brutal, grimy East Coast sound alongside someone like Havoc, which is a good leeway. He was one of the guys that really gave New York that identity that it's recognized for today, especially when it comes to those beats from the 90s. But what's the most special is just that unique source of inspiration for his samples and him bringing in all of these martial arts and kung fu samples in a way that no one really ever did before. That's really what made him stood out and what gave that sort of like Shaolin sound to the Wu, which stood out from everything else. And I just love that his intention was always like, let me make my beats as cinematic as possible and include dialogue from different movies and include all of these foreign sounds that have never been brought into the genre before. So I love what he did on that front. Also, I think that when you look at the prime run that RZA had, you could argue it's the best prime out of any producer in hip-hop history. From 93 to 97, putting out 36 Chambers and putting out Only Built for Cuban Links, Liquid Swords, Iron Man, the Grave Diggers album.
Stupid shit.
Bro, like
Stupid.
Wu-Tang Forever.
But that's
like,
why I have him higher on the catalog.
Literally the best prime. That being said, after that prime, he had kind of a rough period where like a lot of the Wu albums, like the W, etc., they weren't like after that era. They were not.
Like every
let me
producer
finish.
hits that, though.
He was not hitting the same mark anymore, and it came to a point where it's like a lot of the Wu members were maintaining that lyrical force and skill, and he just wasn't able because of him experimenting too much. Him not really focusing on the same types of samples he was in the past. He kind of lost his touch a little bit, so maybe that's why he's not higher up, was having that decline. But
okay, from which period to which period do you think?
93 to 97 was the prime.
That's a crazy run, bro.
It's an insane run. That's the best run ever.
Yeah,
it's the best run ever.
But you see, like that's why it should be higher, at least in my opinion.
Credits though include Fourth Chamber, Cream, Bring the Pain, Triumph, Dark Fantasy by Ye, New Day, Long Kiss Goodnight, and Molasses.
Crazy.
Insane.
Absolutely. All right, number 6. Let's do it.
This is where I have Pharrell Williams / the Neptunes.
This is where I have Boy Wonder at number 6. Oh, the Boy Wonder inclusion had to be there.
Over Pharrell is nuts, bro. That's a bad take.
No, absolutely not.
Not
a bad
over
take.
Pharrell, bro.
But we could go placements for placement. We could also talk about how he extensively built one of the best producer camps of all time. How he pioneered the sound of the 2010s, my favorite hip hop period of all time. Legendary catalogs, legendary albums. What are we talking about here? No,
not over Pharrell.
No,
not any day.
Okay, let me give you guys my reason for why I think Boy Wonder
is a better producer than Pharrell.
A top 10 producer of all time,
and better than Pharrell by extension.
I think so. I personally feel as if Boy Wonder is one of the greatest producers of all time. When you look at the producer catalog that he has extensively put together, one of the greatest hit makers that hip hop has ever seen. Songs like God's Plan, Know Yourself, Family Matters, Pound Cake, 0 to 100, The Black or the Berry, Forever, Not Afraid, bro. Like the list goes on and on and on and on and on. And when I talk about a drum maker, someone that's able to make these explosive drums like Dr. Dre did, to be honest with you, he might be top 3 of all time in my opinion. Some of the best drum programming you'll ever find from another producer. There's not many people, if any, from that 2010s period that's able to replicate the drums like Boy Wonder's able to. Not only that, but he started off early on in his career as well with Wayne and with YMCMB. So not a guy that just came in out of nowhere in the 2010s and did his thing. He has a bunch of credits across the board. Not only that, but when it comes to building out his camp and him as a curator, I look at someone like a Vinyls, for example. I look at Alan Ritter. I look at someone like a Frank Dukes. I look at Coleman. These are some of the best producers that are in the game right now. And not only is he giving them the looks that are necessary to build up their own careers, but he's the one that has directly influenced their production style and that has given them the opportunity to build out their own placements and their own things. He's someone that's able to bring people together. He's a master of curation, and he helped build one of the most goated catalogs of all time in Drake. So with that being said, do I think it's an odd placement at number 6? No. Like, there's so much worth to Boy Wonder being a top 10 producer of all time, one of the most dominant producers of all time, and there's almost no one with his resume, bro. And when it comes to also producer credit in the community, he's one of the most respected people in the entire community of all time, bro. This guy has given so many different people so many different options and so many different looks. He's birthed careers. This guy's resume is fucking impeccable, bro. So that's why at number 6.
The Boy Wonder bounce. Good, valid pick. Not over Pharrell in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. But yeah, listen, when it comes to Pharrell, like I said, kind of including his Neptune's catalog within here as well. What he was able to do, that run that started in the 2000s and led up all the way till now, where you have arguably an album of the year entirely produced by Pharrell, a guy who's been around for 30 years at this point. It's an unparalleled run, and I feel like out of anyone on my list, you kind of looked at like his range and him dipping into different pockets as a reason for him to not be included. That's one of the main reasons why he is in my list, is the fact that he's been able to transcend hip hop while still keeping his core mainly hip hop and having the majority of his productions within the genre, but still being able to go to Gwen Stefani and make a Holla Back Girl and make one of the biggest hits in the country.
Yeah, but the top 10 rap
and still be
producers
able
list.
to make massive hits
It's
with that.
fire.
To me, it's the range and the versatility while also producing multiple hip hop
hip-hop
albums. Making multiple hip hop albums with the clips that are incredible. Looking at a B with Grindin', where you literally just have finger snaps and a variety of different drums make up an entire composition. That is revolutionary shit. I think that even him having that 4 count at the start is the most creative producer tag of all time. I love the bouncy off-kilter drums and even just the unorthodox synth lines that he brings in. When you hear a Pharrell beat, you either have no idea that it's a Pharrell beat because of how unorthodox the production sounds, or you know that it's him because of how left field the beat sounds itself. I love, again, the fact that he's able to work with a Jay-Z and make amazing songs, and also work with a Lil Uzi Vert and Migos in the modern era, and never really had his sound be dated or sound sort of expired in any way, shape, or form. He was always able to move with the times and work in a way where he's feeding different fans from different genres while keeping those roots in hip-hop. Amazing credits like Hot in Here, Grindin', Use Your Heart, SWV, Change Clothes, Drop It Like It's Hot, All Right by Kendrick, Timeless, Mr. Morale, and so many more. Pharrell at 6.
All right,
Top 5.
Top 5. This is where I'm going to have J Dilla at number 5.
That's where I have Madlib at number 5.
Okay, interesting. Do you have J Dilla on your list?
Don't know.
This is getting a bit sus, Lou. This is getting a bit sus.
But yeah, Madlib. I'll just piggyback off of where you left off with Madlib. LA-based producer, one of the most unique producers in the game. And the way that I've always looked at what he's able to do, like this guy could literally make a sample out of 2 dogs humping and make it sound like the greatest thing you ever heard. Like just some heavenly shit. No, but that's what he could do, bro. He can take.
It's fucking crazy.
You could go upstairs right now, get some pots and pans, bangle them up together, and he'll make one of the greatest beats you've ever heard. Like he's literally that guy.
Okay.
But yeah, I fell in love with Madlib's production, listening to songs like Freestyle Shit or Fake Names and hearing that Japanese narrator added in, or the Brazilian bossa nova
cinematic value of his production
or the Brazilian
is so underrated.
or the Brazilian bossa nova sample on something like Raid with those electric piano chords, or how he's able to sample an old cartoon TV show on all caps. It's always been about creating fun for the audience, and I feel like his range with samples has always been limitless. And yeah, just some mind-blowing beat tapes as well. Looking at Shades of Blue, Angel Without Edges. There was even the Indian-inspired beat tapes that were incredible. And obviously him putting out Mad Villainy and Bandana and Pinata. Amazing discography. Credits like No More Parties in LA, The Auditorium, One Beer, Thuggin', The Waters, What a Day by Tyler. One-of-a-kind producer.
Absolutely. Let me speak about J Dilla, top 5 hip hop producer of all time, and this comes from someone that like really enjoys hip hop sampling, and especially like when you look at Detroit and you know how much they've contributed to the hip hop genre, whether it was Eminem or Royce or J Dilla, for example. He's someone that pioneered a whole different sound, and I think if you ask your favorite sampler's favorite sampler, it comes down to J Dilla. I think he's the master when it comes down to just taking these abstract sounds and turning them into such lush productions. That's what I really like about J Dilla, is like, you know a J Dilla beat when you hear it because of how lush and luxurious it sounds. At the same time, you're able to just mindlessly fall in love with its production because there's these rhythms to it that you just can't point your finger on. So for example, going into Donuts and listening to a song like Stop or The Donut of the Heart, or even something like, for example, Two Can Win, dude, these instrumentals are beautiful, bro. And the
Mm-hmm.
way that he sequenced this album was absolutely perfect. Going back to 2006, right when he released this project, it was interesting because Jay Dilla, like, obviously, like, was super big in the hip hop community, but I felt like this was different for Dilla, where there was a new life that was birthed from his production, where now there was a lot more people starting to pay attention. And especially for people our age, Jay Dilla was a figure that, like, you had to fall in love with his production to be able to actually enjoy hip hop music or understand what sampling is. And that's what I found out at Donuts. Even going on to something like last Donut of the Night, there's this sentimental feeling to when you listen to his music, and it's almost like he spoke through his sample flips. That's something else that I really enjoy about Jay Dilla's music, is he's someone that always puts so much creative expression through, voicing his placements. And he's just a producer that I absolutely love. Some of his best ever placements, The Light by Common. That's one of your favorite hip hop songs of all time. Gazillion Ear by MF Doom, wonderful. Running by the Far Side.
Classic.
Didn't You Know by Erica Badu. Find a Way by A Tribe Called Quest. Fall in Love by Slum Village. When he was doing work with that. Stakes is High by De La Soul. It's Your World Part 1 and 2 off of the B album. Just incredible shit, bro.
Yeah, I don't have Jay Dilla on my list. Number 4, Jay Dilla.
Okay,
I'm fucking
bro,
with you.
what's
I
going
wanted to
on,
see
bro?
the look on your face. No, of course.
Number 4 is where I have RZA.
He could have gone fucking top 3 for me, to be honest with you. Like, I think that we know who's gonna place in the higher up echelon of our list, but as a pure beat maker, like, lose the title of producer because that involves a little bit more when you really think about it. But as a pure beat maker, you could
Nasty.
truly make the argument that he's number one. One of the kings of lo-fi hip hop. I think that he may not have the name power of a Pharrell Williams. He might not have the hits of a Dr. Dre or the catalog of a Kanye West. But his skill set and his sampling techniques are second to none.
Yeah, but you know what he
There-
has
there's
that
no
all
one
of these
else.
other guys arguably don't? He has one of the greatest beat tapes of all
He
time.
has,
in
yeah, he has.
Donuts.
I've never been so mesmerized and like just gripped by.
And do you know what
a
I'm trying to
beat
say?
tape
Like, he
in my life.
speaks through his sample flips. Like, it's almost like he's talking through
For
his
sure.
flips. Like,
There's the song on Donuts called "Don't Cry," which is a very emotional song, and that was a message to his mother because that album came
right
out
before he passed away.
a couple of days before he passed away, and like he was speaking to his mother directly through that sample. But what's so cool about what he does on that song is that he leaves the first section of that sample for like the first 40 seconds sort of unedited, but then he speeds up the tempo and starts chopping up the vocals and fits them into his own drum pattern, and it creates just this dreamy vibe, and absolutely beautiful. Obviously, he was a big part of like the Soulquarian scene that was bubbling up, working with Common, working with Erica Badu on classics like Didn't You Know, and he just always felt like the soul of hip hop in the sense of coming up with some of the most beautiful samples you've ever laid your ears on. But what's crazy was just how he revolutionized sampling with the MPC machine, which was like his prized possession. And he said, fuck quantization. And what quantization is, it's that adjusting tool that makes sure that your drum is in a proper rhythm and that it's all on beat. And he said, fuck that. I'm not going to use this tool that everyone else uses. And that's what sort of gave him this more loose sampling technique.
Like
where,
free associative sort of drum.
yeah,
voice.
where he could kind of have that feeling of being a live drummer, even though it's all sample based. So he's like, fuck that perfect rhythm of drumming. Let me make you experience music in a different way, in a more human way. So shout out to Jay Dilla, one of the greatest to ever do it. And tragic that we lost him so young because there's so much more that he could have done.
Yeah, let me talk about RZA. He did a great job explaining what he's done for the New York hip-hop scene and hip-hop as a whole. Some of the most goated placements of all time when it comes down to his production catalog. Speaking about all the solo Wu material, even the Wu material as a whole, that run from 93 to 97 is one of the most goated runs of all time for a producer. And I still think he had very good beats after that period. And He's one of the greatest producers to ever live. I just think, like, you look at the work from 36 Chambers and onwards, bro, it's stupid. Like, the production catalog is gross. Like you were talking about with that classic Shaolin, like, sort of sound where you're getting these Japanese-esque, like, karate samples from different abstract movies, and he's sampling that into his production. You see someone like Madlib use that technique all those years later, even Uncle Al. Like, there are certain aspects to his production that he was the originator of, and that's why you absolutely have to have him in your top 10 regardless of top 5. If you want to put him in your top 5, you could do it. It doesn't look poor, but he has to be a mainstay in your top 10. But let's go into the top 3 now. At number 3, this is where I have DJ Premier.
This is where I have DJ Premier.
Okay, so same top 3.
Yeah, I think it's the exact same top 3. When it comes to DJ Premier, obviously, it's so funny because he's from Houston, but he's really the godfather of New York-based hip-hop production for the 90s and really forging out that sound. I think what blew my mind more than anything was, like, obviously, I'm super familiar with Gangstar, with Prime, which is his duo with Royce the 5'9". So he's part of 2 of the best rapper-producer duos, casually. But some of the credits, bro, like how deep the resume is of song credits,
bro,
it might be the most impressive out of anyone on this list. Bro,
by the way, he hasn't produced anything on Sicko Mode. It's just showing up, right? As like
the fuck? No, I don't think he did anything.
Yeah,
on Sicko Mode.
Because he has production credits on Sicko Mode.
Did he do some scratches? Maybe.
I don't know, bro. But yeah, it's he's on here.
That's crazy.
It shows up on his.
Bro, is DJ Premier on Sicko Mode? What?
See if you see it on your end. Maybe it's just a glitch on Genius because I have his production page.
I do not see Primo on Sicko
Anyways,
Mode.
Doesn't even matter.
I think that the beat switch was his idea. He came up with the first beat switch on Sicko Mode.
He's for sure somewhere on Sicko Mode. Probably has like he has like a little scratch somewhere. But yeah, even the art of scratching, something that I feel like is so unique to his production style too, is that art of scratching, right? And a lot of producers on this list have either never touched that or they've never even thought about incorporating it into their placement.
Yeah, 'cause he's like a true DJ in every sense of
absolutely.
the word.
And, you know, that's prominent within all of his different beats. Like you were saying, his work with Nas, his work with Biggie, bro, his work with Jay-Z, his work with Drake, dude, like his work with Kanye. It's stupid, dude. I'll do it for you. New York State of Mind, 10 Crack Commandments, Everything I Am, Kick in the Door, Sandra's Rose, bro, Paper Trails with Joey Badass, The Evils with Jay-Z, Represent with Nas.
Boom.
Nas is like, boom, Mathematics, bro, Machine Gun Funk.
I Gave You Power.
Moment of Truth, Unbelievable, Where I'm From, Above the Clouds.
It's dumb.
Oh, dude, what are we talking about here?
Catalog.
This is disgusting. Work, bro, Bring It On, Mass Appeal, Friend or Foe, Final Hour with Lauryn Hill. The Enemy, bro. Like, what? Like, what is this? The GOAT.
And yeah, I just, I love the fact that it's like just his scratches on a record became so iconic that like Ye enlisted his scratches for the Easy song, let's say, even now in the 2020s.
Because you got to pay respect.
And even looking at like the iconic scratches, like the beginning of the song Work, for example. Or like the way he pioneered like using a scratch chorus on a song like Nas's, like just crazy shit, bro.
All right.
Top 2.
Yeah, number 2 is Kanye.
Number 2 is Kanye West. Yeah, I had a feeling we would be on the same way for the top 2 in that placement. Listen, all-around producer, someone that knows how to direct a musical composition and get the best out of all of the artists that he's working with.
Masterful sample flipper.
Yeah, I think he's also just an amazing visionary. Like, if you ever watch the Fade to Black documentary from Jay-Z, like, there's that whole section where Ye's in the studio with Hove, and you see him literally come up with not only the beat for Lucifer, but also the hook. Like, he literally had the vision of that whole, like, I'm from the murder capital where we murder for capital. Like, that was all Kanye West, and he's just able to take one idea, build it into a bigger idea and an even bigger idea, and just like
he knows how to
go
push
off
the boundaries
creatively.
Forward. Yeah, he doesn't put any sort of limits on this production. Goated sample flips, Otis, Everything I Am, obviously. Well, that's not even his, but
I Wonder,
dude. Like, there's
so many. And obviously what he was able to do with Chipmunk Soul and like really popularize that in the 2000s with the Blueprint, with his own album, The College Dropout.
One of the craziest evolutions as well as a producer.
A reinvention, bro. Yeah,
reinvented his production and his sound every single time you release an album. I can't say the same thing right now, but fuck it. You know what? Up until Donda, it was just It was album after album where you were getting a completely different sound, whether it was gospel, whether it was chipmunk soul, whether it was like stadium music that felt grander with these huge synths. It's just beautiful all around. And also a master collaborator, someone that really brings people to the forefront and is able to get the best out of them in that studio session. Kanye West at number 2. I don't even have to do a production catalog check.
No,
this
you
one.
don't.
The
We don't
placements
need
are
to
just
give
visit
it.
the Genius
Just
page, bro.
everything. Just
Yeah,
everything Kanye West has
Everything.
produced pre 2021, I guess.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Oh, hold on. Honorable mention.
Honorable mentions. My bad.
Shit,
Yeah,
don't do
yeah.
that.
Sorry.
All right, no problem. So let's do this. Honorable mentions: Pharrell, The Alchemist, Bink, High Tech, Molly Mall. Then after that, I have Swizz Beats, Just Blaze, Mike Dean, Eric Sermon. And that's kind of like where it ends off.
If there's anyone that you didn't say that I want to see, because obviously I have some of the ones you said, but Metro Boomin would be an honorable mention for me. I don't know if you mentioned him. Mike Dean, I think you said.
Yeah.
Ninth Wonder, one of the greatest producers of all time. Havoc, obviously, would have been like 11 or 12.
No ID.
Yeah, Just Blaze, Nujabes, MF Doom as a producer, Timbo, obviously, Large Professor, Scott Storch, Boy Wonder, Questlove, Bomb Squad, DJ Quick, and yeah.
Yeah, but let's talk about Dr. Dre at number
The
1.
biggest monster behind the boards.
Yeah.
There's no one else that it could have been. I think that something that people don't, well, it's mentioned, but like just the fact that he took 3 different record labels, like 3 different regimes to number 1 in his career
The mastermind.
because of his production. Like, that is insane. From Ruthless Records to Death Row to Aftermath, Interscope. This guy has had, it felt to me like Dr. Dre had like 4 careers into one, bro. It's almost hard to imagine that the same guy that went on that run with NWA ended up going on the run that he had with Snoop Dogg and obviously with his own solo work, to then being able to break out Eminem and 50 Cent, etc. Like, that's usually like, you only get one of those in a regular person's career.
But you don't even know. You don't even get one of those in a regular person's
Yeah.
career, and he just kept doing it. The cosign was magical. I feel like the last huge cosign he gave was to Kendrick, and now look at Kendrick's career and look at where he's at. His eye for talent is incredible, and he knows how to push people to their fucking limits. And he knows how to harvest talent, bro. Like, for example, would you have Eminem if it wasn't for Dr. Dre? No. Would you have had the NWA catalog or Ice Cube or Eazy-E if it was Dr. Dre for his direction? Arguably not. Even his contributions towards Death Row, even like I know him and Tupac don't have too many placements together over the years, but you can't tell me he didn't influence the entire sound of that entire run that Death Row went on. He was literally their main producer.
That All Eyes on Me album, for sure.
Yeah, he was the main fucking guy across the board, talking about Snoop Dogg and G-Funk, even talking about someone like Mary J. Blige, Jordan Anderson Pac, bringing in 50 Cent and the whole G-Unit movement. Like, bro, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
There's literally
I
no
don't
one
know
else.
if there's a hip hop album that sounds as well produced as 2001. I don't know if that exists. That's the best drum programming that you'll ever lay your ears on, and I think that Dr. Dre has always been seen as like the Quincy Jones of hip hop, like an absolute powerhouse producer where it's not only the beat making, it's the executive production and it's the engineering. He's also an incredible engineer. And
Well,
yeah,
he's someone that just understands like what it is to create perfection.
Yep.
And even when you watch the Defiant Ones and him working with his own engineers, he's someone that also was one of the first producers to handle everything production-wise. Everything. The way that he also revolutionized, playing live samples over again for 2001 because they didn't obviously want to pay for the fucking samples. So he was like, well, Melman, we're just going to replay all this shit and we're going to make it even sound better. What are we talking about here, And I also feel like he's underrated as a rapper.
As a rapper?
Yeah, he's an underrated rapper.
Did you
Listen, dude,
consider
he's
that
all
for
over-
this?
he's-
Like, were
no,
you
I
like,
didn't.
oh, if someone's an
Nah,
MC,
just
like a...
But 2001's my favorite album of all time, and he's rapping all over it, so he
Yeah.
must have done something good.
No, he had like the voice and the fucking demeanor. Like, obviously the lyrics didn't come from him. Wasn't the best lyricist ever, but no, he had like the proper formation. I feel like vocally,
Absolutely.
flow-wise,
He knew
like,
exactly how to accompany it. And-
he knew how to be.
Bro, I don't
the
even
full
want to go
package.
through. Yeah, I'll go through these placements, bro. Without Me, The Real Slim Shady, Stan, Swimming Pools, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe.
He produced on Stan?
He produced on Stan.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, no, it's the 45 King.
Yeah,
I think they're looking at it as an executive
that's it.
production. I think they're looking at it as executive production. My bad.
Probably.
Still Dre, No Diggity, Kill You, California Love, Fuck the Police,
Gin and Juice, In
Gin
the
and
Club,
Juice, 21
California Love,
Questions.
Nas is Coming.
Yeah,
Insane.
the production catalog's absolutely
It's
gross.
next level, bro.
And I think everyone could agree that he's number one, bro.
I don't think everybody will, but to me,
No, you don't
it's
think so?
without
You
a
don't think-
doubt.
you don't think everyone
I think
will?
you're gonna have people saying Kanye at one. I think you're gonna see Primo at one. You're gonna see J Dilla at one for sure. A lot of them are like, whatever. It's to each
Acceptable.
their own, but
Yeah.
Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre, number one.
Undeniably.
For sure, guys. So let us know in the comment section, where did we get it right, where did we get it wrong, and which top 10 list should we do next. We really appreciate you guys for watching this. Shout out to all the goated producers that were mentioned in this episode, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.